My name is Vanessa López Aguilera. My office is located on 3502 North Meridian here in downtown Indianapolis. Purchased my building about 3 years ago, and I primarily practice family law. So I went to undergrad in Bloomington, Indiana, and then I went to IU McKinney Law School in 2000, and then I've been here in Indianapolis ever since, primarily focused on family law. I did do a little bit of criminal law before, but since probably, I don't know, 2010, I've just been doing family law. And my practice's focus is then on guardianships, paternity cases, divorce, custody and parenting time issues, anything that's child related. I'm also a guardian ad litem, I'm a parenting coordinator, and I'm also a certified domestic relations mediator, so I mediate cases for the court. I think that's it. So I don't think there was anything significant that happened in my life that I decided that I wanted to be a lawyer. You know, my mom and friends would say things like maybe I like to argue that I should be a lawyer, but I really thought that being an attorney was something more that it was more of a white male career, and I didn't see a lot of minority females in that profession. So I think growing up, I thought that was something that that was more for someone else and not someone like myself who's Hispanic and obviously a female. But I decided to go ahead and go to law school, and I applied when I was an undergrad, and I didn't think I could get accepted, and I got accepted at every school I applied to, so I was very happy. And I chose Indiana University because I grew up in Bloomington, but I wanted to be a little bit farther away, so I went to Indianapolis. In law school, you don't focus on a certain area, so when you graduate, you're almost like general, like a general studies, but it doesn't have that title. So you have your Juris Doctorate degree, and when you get out, then you have to figure out what you want to do, unless you're lucky enough to know what you want when you're in law school. So I was lucky enough to have a job already before I graduated, with a lot of folks in my school did not. And I did that because while I was in law school, I participated in trial clinics. So I was involved in our court system, and I got to meet different lawyers, and I met my future employer. So then I graduated with a job, which was great, and I was practicing criminal law and family law. The employer at the time thought that I did very well in family law because it was it's an area of law where you are able to connect with families and individuals, and we all have a story. And I was able to relate very well to people in family law in any situation. And I think you just have to be down to earth and practical with them. And so I just started doing more and more family law, enjoying it more and more. And then criminal law kept going to the side. And before I knew it, I was just solely practicing family law. In the beginning of my career, excuse me, I did a little bit of workers' comp. So because I am bilingual, there are certain clients that will always come to me for help in all areas of law. But it's important to understand that just because you're bilingual or just because you're an attorney that you can practice in all areas. So you have to know one area very well. I don't think you should know just a little bit about a lot of different areas. So I chose to just primarily focus on family law and just be good at what I do. In my family law practice, in addition to custody, parenting time, paternity, all those disputes, we also were an ally to the LGBT community. We made it very clear from the very beginning that we wanted that community to know that they had a friend in Lopez Law Office, and we wanted them to come here so that we can help them with any family law issue that they may have. Now, before we had case law that said that same-sex marriages could happen here in Indiana, we had to be very creative in how we would help clients who had a custody dispute but weren't married. So now, luckily that we've had that case law, we can now treat same-sex couples the exact same way because you legally can get married or divorced here in Indiana. So what it has done is just stabilized that community, the LGBT community, and to understand that you have certain rights where we had to be more creative in the past. But we still are ally, and we have a lot of clients that come through, and we're able to help them with their LGBTQ needs. The LGBTQ community, because they, through word of mouth, know that Lopez Law Office is an ally and we're friendly, we have we have seen an increase in our cases. I can't tell you if that's the whole community in general or other attorneys, but it is because my firm has targeted and said, we want you to know that you have a place to feel safe and you can come and talk to us about your family law needs. And unfortunately, even though the community fought really hard to be able to have marriage equality, with that also comes divorce. So we do see same-sex couple divorces, and they're not treated any differently in the state of Indiana. It does get a little bit complicated with children. That case law is still in flux, for lack of a better word. So we do still encourage to be creative in certain things, like second parent adoptions, even though one would think you wouldn't need one if it's a child of the marriage. But there is still some issues that we hope that we'll get some better direction. We'll have some new case law with that. My advice that I would give to anyone that has an interest in law, especially paralegals, is to understand your community. And if you're wanting to work for an attorney and be in the legal field, then you should know who they are. So it's important to know who your judges are in the community that you're in the law firms. By volunteering in certain organizations or going to certain events might give you exposure to those individuals. So while I was in law school, I was the president of the Hispanic Law Society. So I would co-host events with other organizations, and that we would invite speakers in. So attending different events in different places might be helpful to get that exposure, because it's great to be a good student and get good grades, but if you don't have that exposure, you're not going out there, that could be an inhibitor as far as maybe landing that first job. But if you know that person or they've seen your face, that might be a little bit more helpful. So as a family law attorney, I'm a litigator, and I'm in court usually on a daily basis. And you can have a week where you're scheduled to have 13 trials, and maybe half of them go off, or maybe all of them stay in place. So you have to be really good at multitasking, and you have to have a very good team. So you have to have good staff, and I would not survive if I did not have good staff. If I did not have a good paralegal, I would not be able to be successful. I'm only one person, and I cannot manage all my clients, write all my own letters, do my own discovery. Of course, as the attorney, you oversee everything. Nothing goes out of my office without my review, but you need good staff to be able to help you to obviously keep up your caseload and take good care of your clients. Especially in family law, you have people who are going through the hardest part of the, very difficult times in their lives, and it may require some hand-holding. So you may have someone that's very upset, and I'm in court, and they need to have someone to say, it's going to be okay. Ms. Lopez is in court. She's going to, we're going to shoot her an email. She'll get back to you when she returns from court. And just to have that voice to understand, like, hey, there's someone working on my case. It's going to be okay. They're going to get back to me, is very helpful, because it is very high stress. And in family law, you can start with the idea that I'm going to work on this amount of cases today. I'm going to get through, these 5 cases, and then you're going to have 7 emergencies that come up. And now your 5 cases now have to kind of go to the side to deal with your emergencies. But understanding you have to get back to those 5 cases. So your workload is up and down throughout the day, and you have to have good paralegals to help you maintain that. Because I might have wanted to do case A and realize now, but this case needs my immediate attention. Can you help me with this while I do this case, and then maybe I can get back to that. So it's definitely a teamwork. You need paralegals to be able to help you maintain your caseload. To be a successful paralegal, you have to have good time management. And I would encourage folks to write everything down. So you have to have a tickler system. You have to make sure that you are staying on top of your cases. If you called a client and they haven't returned your call, make a note that you need to follow up with that individual. If you write opposing counsel an email and they haven't returned it, and it's been 24 hours or even more than that, you need to make sure that you're following up. Whatever your tickler system is imperative that you follow it, because your attorney depends on that. And your attorney shouldn't have to go back to you and go, hey, did you call that person back, or did we hear from that client? You as a paralegal should be coming back and saying, I already took care of that. I already called that individual, and this is what we're doing. And that's less stress for the attorney, and that's the paralegal's job. So I've been doing this now for a while, and I'm also a mother. So I've been very clear to my clients that being a mother is very important. So I've had the luxury of that I had her later in life, so I already had established my business, and that I am a mom at nights and weekends. That doesn't mean that I don't return emails, or if I see an emergency, I'll email them and let them know. I'm going to call you first thing in the morning, or you're going to come and see me first thing in the morning. But I really try to be very protective about my time. Before I was a mother, I worked all the time. I was 7 days a week. I had Saturday hours, business hours. I worked nights. I did everything to be successful. And, there's always student loans and all kinds of other expenses. And it is expensive to run your own business. You have a lot of payroll and things like that. But now that I'm a mother, I'm very protective about that time. If it's an emergency and I need to do it, of course I will do it. But I do have some family priorities. I think work-life balance is very possible, and it also just depends on when your family comes in, but you have to be protective, and I think that's where your time management skills come in, because you could be working all the time, evening and weekends, but if you have good time management, you shouldn't be. You should be able to get it done in the time that you have allotted for yourself. You shouldn't have to be having to have working at night, ignoring your family, ignoring your children. There's got to be a better way. I do not take my paralegals to court. It's very rare that I do that. I do get anxious when I do go into court. My father told me a long time ago that if the moment that I stopped getting nervous is probably when I need to find to do something else. That if you don't have that anxiety and if you're not worried about being successful for your clients, then maybe you need a different profession. So I think that the anxiety and the nerves are a little bit different now, where me have been before maybe lack of knowledge or experience. Now I have that knowledge and the experience. It's just hoping that the judge sees it your way, hoping that your client does well in their testimony and that your witnesses do well, and that somehow the judge is able to see your case, how you've presented it. So the stress is different when you're prepared or knowledgeable, I should say, than when you're just starting out in your career. But I do always have that anxiety. I want to do well for my clients. Okay. To work in family law can be very rewarding. You see people at the lowest point of their lives. Either that they're going through a divorce with someone that they said forever to, which forever becomes very short these days, or they're losing custody of their children. So they're very vulnerable, they're very stressed, and to be able to help them through that process, to let them know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, you are going to make through this, you are going to be able to co-parent, we're going to help you do this, and to see them at the end and say, you're right, I'm okay, it hurt, but I'm okay, and thank you for your help is very rewarding. So if you're thinking about family law, understand that you are in a position to help others, and you're in a position to help others go through a very difficult situation with civility and respect, and to be able to effectively co-parent. And that's my favorite part about family law, is seeing two people in high conflict and assisting them in resolving their matter with civility and respect, and to be able to co-parent. I think to me that's a win.